Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey here, once again with another video on the Arrowverse and the DCTV, but also maybe specifically the CW, I'm not too sure. Just a heads up, I am sick, I have the flu, so if my voice sounds a bit weird, it might not. Half the time when I say these things, my voice sounds fine on the microphone or on the actual video. But anyway, as we know, we have the end of DCTV on the CW specifically coming our way at the end of this year in the form of the fourth and final season of Superman and Lois. Some would also consider this the end of the Arrowverse as a whole as well, but that just sort of depends on whether you count Superman and Lois as an Arrowverse show or just another DC TV show on the CW. If not, then of course The Flash was the end of the Arrowverse, just over a year ago or so from this point in time. But of course the Arrowverse commenced almost 12 years ago now, which is crazy to think, with the premiere of Arrow, that of course going on for 8 years or 8 seasons, I guess, as a show, but the Arrowverse continuing past that point with shows like Supergirl, The Flash, Batwoman, Legends of Tomorrow, and the like, all airing seasons after Arrow came to an end. But over the past week or so, it actually would have been sooner, but I've been sick and I haven't really been able to talk too much. But so I would have done this video earlier. So it was about 2 days, I think, when I was going to do the video. But it's been about a week or so now, I think. But yeah, we got some information that was pretty interesting and definitely makes you think, what if? What if, like, when it comes to not only Arrow as a show or the Arrowverse as a connected universe, but the CW as a network as well, and all the shows that followed this point in time. If certain things didn't play out, we might not have gotten a show like The Flash and other spin-offs, but the CW itself could have ceased to exist at this point, or at least maybe changed to what it was after that point up until a couple of years ago before Nexstar bought it. But of course, throughout the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on this. Does this surprise you learning this information, or does it sort of make sense to you? I know, let me know. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, I want to show your support, drop a like, takes 2 seconds. So this information, or this like sort of reveal, or like into like deeper details that wouldn't have been known to the public, is coming from the former Arrow showrunner, as well as an executive producer on Legend of Tomorrow, and also the lead producer on the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover event, that being Mark Guggenheim. And this was through an interview with the showrunner Whisperer podcast, which I hadn't heard of before until now, but as I guess the podcast name would insinuate, they are interviews with various showrunners from different shows. Makes sense, I guess. But anyway, I'm just going to sort of read the summary that TV Line put on, because I thought it was worded well, probably better than I could word things. So I thought we'll read that out. It tells us everything we need to know, and then we'll discuss it from that point forward. We can thank Arrow's Oliver Queen for saving Starling City, or Star City as it then became, and for saving an entire television network too. In a new interview with the showrunner Whisperer podcast, Arrow co-creator and executive producer Mark Guggenheim reveals that after the Stephen Amell-led superhero show earned a pilot order at the CW, Warner Brothers TV chairman Peter Roth took us out to lunch and basically laid out for us in incredible detail the reality that if Arrow wasn't a hit, there would be no more CW. Now we also have the pressure of keeping the whole network on the air, and not just the specific show of Arrow. And Arrow wasn't an easy sell either. When it debuted on the CW in 2012, Guggenheim remembers, we were trying to do a superhero show in a way that had never been done before. The closest thing to it at the time was the WB/CW Superman origin story, Smallville. He notes, but Arrow was nothing like Smallville. It was much grittier, it was much darker, it had a lot more action. That made it challenging. But the gamble paid off. Arrow became one of the CW's top-rated shows, with the series premiere becoming the network's most watched telecast in 3 years. Arrow ran for 8 seasons and launched a fleet of spin-offs known collectively as the Arrowverse, with The Flash, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow all running for multiple seasons on the CW, joined later by Batwoman and Black Lightning. Now, Guggenheim looks back on those days fondly and believes we may not see them again, with the CW now pivoting away from original scripted shows. I don't think we could do Arrow today. I don't think we could have done it with the amount of leeway and creative freedom that we had. It was a very special, unique time in the business. And just quickly before we talk about like the what-if situation in regards to that last paragraph there sort of goes hand in hand to an extent with something we talked about a week or two ago. I think it was about a week ago, or just over a week ago, when it came to Greg Berlanti, when he was talking about like, oh, would you, be involved with, the Arrowverse, or not the Arrowverse, so with like James Gunn's DC universe and stuff like that. And he was more talking about like, with the Arrowverse and his success there and how it worked all together. It was just like sort of like a moment in time. It was just everything sort of working out for a reason, and there not being these obstacles that might be there today. And Guggenheim sort of, last thing there sort of goes with it as well. But also when he's talking about there with like, how the CW itself is now moving away, I think it's with even just with the larger thing. Like you have to, like, for example, like if we look at James Gunn with the DC universe, if he was just put in charge of the TV stuff, I don't think he'd get the chance to do like a larger thing or with some larger projects that he's being allowed to, but that's because it's connected to the movie side as well. Like, would you be able to put down a lot of money to do a Booster Gold show? Probably not. You'd have to have a thing backing it, if that makes sense. And in that case, you have the movies and also some other larger TV shows, which have also most likely got the backing because of the movie connection side there. So yeah, as I said, just sort of goes hand in hand with some of the other stuff we've had, in regards to people connected to the Arrowverse and just, I guess that sort of DCTV side of the past is that was just a moment in time and it all worked out really well. But even like now, like Marvel, once again, it's like the TV stuff and DC, it's the TV stuff, but it's all connected to the movie stuff, which is sort of the platform for it. The TV stuff is never going to be the platform for those two things. It's always going to be the movies, and then they build upon it with the TV stuff, which is a minor focus, if you want to put it realistically, for those respective universes. But overall, what would DCTV have looked like if Arrow wasn't as successful as it was? Of course, this would be the insinuation, I guess, that DCTV wouldn't be on the CW because the CW would have imploded if Arrow wasn't successful. Now, I did see some people bring up, well, they did DC Universe, like the DC Universe streaming network, which was like only around for like how long was that around for? 2 years, roughly? I can't remember how long it was around for. Maybe 3 at the most, but I feel like it was like 2 or 3 or something like that. But the thing is that like the DC Universe streaming service, they didn't start till 2018 from memory. At least I know that Titans started in 2018. So this is 6 years after Arrow's premiere back in 2012. And those shows mostly were produced by Berlanti, like Titans, Doom Patrol, Stargirl, for example. They're all produced by Greg Berlanti, the one behind Berlanti Productions, who also produced Arrow and co-created Arrow from the start under his company. So Arrow wasn't only important to saving the CW, let alone leading to the various spin-offs that were mentioned previously, but all those shows that ended up on the DC, or most of the shows that ended up on the DC Universe service, like outside of Swamp Thing and I guess the Harley Quinn animated show, I think they were the 2 shows, and one was animated as well. So like, I don't think Berlanti's really been involved with the animated stuff before. So really Swamp Thing was the only like major show that wasn't connected to him. But then again, like that show relied on the service being there as well. So the domino effect doesn't just lie on the CW's future in this instance if Arrow doesn't work, but pretty much most of DC TV going forward from that point, and whether it actually exists at all or it's just completely changed. But of course, one important thing to remember is that at the same time as the Arrowverse was starting and building up through Arrow, the DCEU films universe was also starting with, Man of Steel and then Batman v Superman a handful of years later, and quickly followed by other films. So that side of things wouldn't, like or it would be an interesting what if, like if the Arrowverse, let alone the CW, didn't prosper going forward after Arrow's premiere. Would the DCEU have been more successful as there wasn't this other product that certain fans enjoyed more, or at least it took their eyes off them and everything like that, and distance themselves from the movie side, possibly. Or maybe the DCEU would have come to a end sooner if there wasn't this larger sandbox of DC characters alongside it as well, that just created this larger DC universe that people could enjoy. Like, as I said, like this domino effects, but in like multiple different directions. It's like one of those big ones that people do where it starts off small and just like, hold on, this is getting bigger. And then all of a sudden it's forking out into 2 or 4 or 6 different avenues or lanes, and multiple things are getting affected by it. But one thing that I think is evident is that if Arrow wasn't successful and didn't just keep the CW, like kept going on the CW, but didn't keep the CW alive, because if it didn't kill the network, they would have just been waiting a year or 2, I guess, and tried again with another project. But yeah, if it wasn't successful, the changes in the timeline compared to what we know now, where obviously Arrow kept going, the CW kept going, everything like that, it would be massively different. Like 100% for DC and live action, just because you're taking away a 12-year, if you count like when Arrow started, 11 year if you count when Arrow started, when the Flash ended, if you're specifically talking about the Arrowverse, but I've got 12 if you include Superman Lois. That's a big change. That's a big change for a chunk of like an establishment of the DC live action stuff to be removed, and like know what would have replaced it. Like, would they have done CBS shows like they did with Supergirl, or what NBC did, Constantine, or other things like that, or maybe Netflix bought DC stuff to do live action shows? Who knows what would have happened? But also like some other shows out there that either were influenced by shows in the Arrowverse or just the CW itself, they're impacted by it as well. But also the actors involved with those shows. You think about the storylines and like all these characters weren't there, but then you think about actors and that if they didn't get that role, where would they be now? You know, would they have quit acting because they didn't get that role? So there's multiple different avenues I was saying in regards to things being affected by one instance, which would be, well, first Arrow not working, but of course the CW just imploding because apparently it was going to be a dead network if that didn't turn out the best for Arrow. Now, of course, we don't know if that was being a bit extra in regards to hey, this has to work, otherwise we're screwed. Maybe, but at the same time, they took a risk with Arrow and they put a lot of money into it. And obviously, I think they were very, very reliant, if you want to put it on DC, on the CW being a thing, because Smallville had been there for so long. And they were hoping the same, I guess, for Arrow, but also any other plans that they had going forward within that universe. And obviously, they played out very well, but obviously, we're not in that universe or that timeline where that didn't happen. So I guess it would have been interesting to see. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like and show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various thoughts and everything we went over this video. Do you have a view on the timeline where all this doesn't work out? I don't know. Let me know any thoughts down there. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.